Hello everyone, thank you for coming here. Today we have a big honor to have here the two-time top 3 Miss Olympia, Jasmine Gonzalez, and Arnold Classic winner, my sister, Jana Jerabkova, as well IFBB Pro. It's a great you to have here, and just about the level of the athletes that people understand. There's people who go into gym, yes, they call themselves athletes. There's people who competing, they call themselves athletes. The people who winning pro cards, 1, 2, 10 of them, 15, the same person. It's different level. To be successful, IFBB Pro, it's already different level. To be the top Olympian, is again different level. So just to be aware what people coming here and what people are here in front of you. There's people who dedicated all life. They're successful because of their inner power. They just the warriors, they're fighters, and I'm really happy to be here together with you. So today we'll have a few main important topics, which is simple training, nutrition, supplementation, and of course some different questions, Q&A from myself, from Remigius, and from the guests. So let's start about the training, okay? As we know, the training is very, very individual. So, Jana, you are very good in that, and I would like to have your full opinion and your talk story about how it is important.
Okay, so first of all, thank you also all of you very much for coming. And first thing to say, I did more than 70 shows in my career over the past 15 years, which I don't want to be bragging, I just want you to see that I have quite some experience. So what I wanted to say is, I'll be asked questions, I saw them already, and I will love to share my experience, but never ever try to copy anyone else's program. You probably, I see, most of you have a lot of experience as well with training and supplementation and nutrition. Most of you probably are trainers or competitors. So you've heard there are somatotypes. It can be ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. These are like groups, but I don't see it as like 3 groups of people. It's a whole spectrum. And on one side, there's me with like long bones, long extremities, and very fast metabolism. And other people, they have like quite the opposite. And the rest is like everywhere between that. So you need to find your own way to do, your own way to train, your way to do nutrition, supplementation, contest prep. Everyone is different, and you really need to find a good coach who will guide you properly. You, not like everyone else. So I was really trying to fit into boxes, and I was guided wrong most of my time in this sport. Finally, with Deividas, I understood what were my most mistakes, and I would like to point them out because I see many girls making these mistakes as well. So first thing about the training, you need to understand where is your weak points, where is your strong points. You don't have to work the body all parts the same. You need to work on your weak points and prioritize them. Do not ever overtrain them. That's a big mistake. When you have, for example, my weak point has always been the glutes. And I was always trying to like really stick to all the rules you have on social media. You have to squat ass to the grass. So for like 3 years, I was squatting 140 kilos, and all I grew was quads, and my ass was still flat. So you really need to understand what your weak spot is and how to actually target it properly, to start feeling the muscle and then slowly increase. If you find one exercise where you really feel the muscle properly, you can keep repeating it. And then when it gets stronger, you can try different exercises because it already has some connection between the brain and the muscle, and you will start learning all the movements. If you don't feel one certain movements properly, and one IFBB Pro on Instagram says it's the best and the only one you need, but you don't feel this one, simply don't do it. Do what works for you. Maybe in 2, 3, 4, 10 years, you will work through it and it will be your favorite exercise as well. But if you don't feel it at the moment, don't push yourself. You will only probably grow other muscles, probably get some blocks in the joints, so don't copy anyone else's. Other thing about the intensity, for me, I was always told, okay, you need to grow glutes, you have to train it minimum 3 times a week. Okay, well, I don't regenerate that fast, so that would burn it and actually make it smaller. And another question is, what does it mean to train some part 3 times a week? Does it mean I will have 7 exercises by 4 sets 3 times a week? Or does it mean that I will have 1 heavy workout, 1 mobility and lightweight workout, and 1 glute medius activation workout, together with probably quads or some other parts? That's also an important question. And it is your coach work to do this, and also it is your work to start learning what your body is telling you. For example, I know that when I still feel that the glute is sore, I don't train it because I would burn it. So I wait until it's healed completely, and this especially applies for the period of time when I'm on caloric deficit, when the body does not have the energy to regenerate, and I'm actually stealing from it. And if I steal from my glutes, then it's gonna burn during the diet period. So this is really important, and it took me like maybe 10 years to understand. And especially when you still feel like, oh, there's still fat, I need to do this burnout exercise for the glutes. The biggest mistake in women bodybuilding ever. If you're gonna do burnout exercise, you're gonna burn the muscle. There's no way to burn the fat locally here. You actually need to be the opposite. You need to be in moderate caloric deficit for a longer period of time to maintain the muscle, and only train like heavy sets in diet, no burnouts. Because if that's your weak point, you're gonna burn it and ruin all your gains from the off season. So that's what I wanted to say about it. Training.
For the train is very strange because they do burnouts.
Yeah.
Reps to percent compensation. That 15,
And
20,
2 hours
25.
of stairs every day. No. Actually, about the cardio, this as well. If you have to do a lot of cardio at the end, some people do, even me, I have sometimes, because my metabolism is fast, but I need to burn fat as well. So if I do stairs every day, and if I do walking, I'm gonna burn the legs, and they're gonna look skinny. So I do other types of cardio where my upper body is involved. For example, that one in the corner for interval training, this one is amazing. Rowing machine. Or you can try some upper body movements, like exercise, but do it like really fast, with like no rest periods in between, just to make the body burning, but not involve the lower body every day. Not to burn the muscles where you need to keep them.
So just as well, just to support on the idea that you have to have a good guidance, a good coach, but at the same time as you learning from the coach, as she learned from me, I learned from her, because this is the teamwork, this is the communication, what you actually bring together, and this is the result what you have is all the work together. Like you can't be being a man to know how the woman feels something. Yes, you have 20, 50, 100, 200 athletes during your career, maybe more, maybe less, but you still, the individual person with individual central nervous system, individual, all the body parts and the reaction to everything, the food, it's so important just to have that teamwork. And just to continue about especially the preparation for competitions, Jesse, how your structure of the workout change, the approach of the workouts, the intensity and volume, totally from off season into the prep.
So in off season, like I was speaking about earlier, I make it my business to utilize the food that I am being given in the week to week that we are in my off season. So I'm pushing the intensity as hard as I can, especially if I know my feedback is to grow or add density to any specific muscle group. So in off season, the focus is always going to be trying to hit PRs on the movements that are going to bring forth the best result, and making sure that my training programming is structured in a way to prioritize the muscle group that needs the most work. So for me, for a while, it was really adding density to my glute max and then also my upper outer glutes. So I start my glute training with abductions just to get those warmed up and firing. Then I really prioritize hip thrust. It'll be my second exercise in my entire programming, just because that's where I get the most benefit for me to grow my glutes. So I wouldn't want to start with, abductions and then do squats and then do RDLs and do hip thrust last, because by the time that I get to hip thrust, I'm already worn out from the first two major compound movements. So I would start my compound movements with hip thrust first, so I can give that movement my absolute all in the beginning of my workout, and then through the rest of the workout, I just work through the movements as is. When it comes to actual prep, in the early stages of prep, when food is still typically high and cardio is still, moderate, it hasn't really increased, for me, I start my preps around 12 to 14 weeks out. So like the first 6 to 7 weeks, I'm still pushing pretty hard with the intensity, just because my food isn't low enough to feel like I'm just getting tired and I can't push hard. So we keep the intensity up as much as possible, just because you are in a deficit, and though you are in a deficit, you can still maintain and even add that density to continue in that first part of your prep. Now, when I get to about 6 weeks out and my cardio is getting higher than 40 minutes and I'm getting sub 1500 calories, that's where I start to hit that maintenance phase. I'll probably drop my load maybe about 10 to 20%, and it's more so gauging, again, that whole recovery aspect. If I'm noticing I'm getting to the point where I'm not recovering well in between certain training days, I'll then know for the next week it's time to dial it back. But dial it back just a little bit. The problem that a lot of people have while in prep is they think that once they're in prep or in a deficit, I've seen women completely pull back on their training. They're like, I'm in a deficit, so that means I can't push heavy. Push heavy till you are unable to recover between those training days. And then you start to slowly pull back on it, but you want to do your best to maintain a good level of intensity all through your prep till you get to about 2-ish weeks out. And I say about 2 weeks out because this is where you want that reduction in inflammation in your body to start to come through. Because peak week, that's the week where you should not be pushing hard or killing yourself to get PRs. This is really recovery week. I know in the past I've heard people say that peak week is hell week, where you're supposed to be grinding hard. That is false. You need to be in more of a recovery and reducing inflammation mode with peak week. So I don't even count peak week as an actual prep week. It's not that. So that's why 2 weeks out is where you start to really reduce just a little bit more from what you were doing previously, just to start letting the body relax and recover, and also give the muscle the chance to kind of get that nice roundness so it doesn't look like it's beat up, tired, or depleted. So that's typically where, I kind of gauge things. 6+ weeks more, you're still pushing the intensity. 6 weeks out, you might need to start pulling things back. 2 weeks out, pull it down a little bit more. And peak week, it should just be more so pump training and just trying to get blood flow to the muscle without causing any damage, so that you are not dealing with soreness or inflammation going into your show that weekend.
Just to continue that as well, how you manage the fatigue risk of overtraining and the control of the stable central nervous system. So what tools and what actions you can take.
So as I said previously, you really need to learn to understand the signals your body is sending. And for example, My big signal is water retention. I think every female is sooner or later going to experience that, and we might mistake it for fat, which might lead to more cardio, less food, and that's actually the biggest mistake in the contest prep, I would say. This is also about regular check-ins with your coach. He should actually understand, and he should see that it's not possible you gain fat. It must be water, because I know what you eat, I know how you train, so you need to take a rest. Some people need to take 1 day of rest, and it's gonna recover fast and smooth, and they can continue. For me, 1 day is nothing. If I really feel like this is happening, that my cortisol level is here, I really need like 2 or more days. I might need a little bit more food to actually recover. And when I do this and I see the body is getting like, the muscles are getting harder, the worry is going away, like, okay, it's good, I can get back on track, and it's nice. If I don't see this, maybe we need more rest, maybe there's something else going on, maybe we need to check the blood work as well. We need to check the blood work actually all the time in the prep, so we are sure that the liver is okay, the kidneys are okay, and of course all the hormones, especially, let's be honest, those of you who are on some kind of substances, that's really important. And other things regarding regeneration, you need to track your sleep. You need to have a regular regime of sleep. If you're lacking sleep in prep, that's going to be a huge problem, especially at the end of the prep, where the body doesn't get enough calories. It needs to regenerate through sleep. And if this doesn't work out, you're going to have increased levels of stress hormones, and that's going to retain water, retain fat, and it's going to burn your muscles. So you're going to need to check on your sleep. And you can also go to sauna, cryo sauna, and stuff like this. But this is not going to save your life when the problem already is there. You need to do this regularly throughout the whole prep to just make sure. The same as physiotherapy and the same as mobility workouts. You guys in bodybuilding, you really tend to neglect the mobility workouts and this rolling and all these things, which does not only lead to like lack of mobility. What can it do? Yeah, this can do that the muscle doesn't have the proper stretch, so it doesn't do the work properly, so it can lack density, it can lack roundness, and at the end, it can also lead to not be able to get to correct position during the posing. And this is not going to be fixed 2 weeks prior to your show. You need to work on this in the off season and really concentrate on that through diet, because as you diet and the muscles are sore and you don't get enough food, they are going to be stiffer and stiffer. So you really need to work on this, especially you need to find what your weak spot is again and try to maintain this smooth. If you don't, then at the end of the prep you're going to be super sore, imbalanced, and your posing is going to look very bad. So
the simple question, but maybe there's a lot of thought, the common mistakes on the preparation. Just
Common mistakes that I see in preparation.
and how to help to avoid.
So some things that I even did like early on in my career, and I thought it was just something like, oh, it's what my body wants best, is training fasted. So I know some of us do like to train fasted just because, oh, it's nice to have an empty stomach prior to training. That isn't the best course of action. I've noticed it with doing that for like 3 years of my career versus in the last 3 years, making sure that I do train fed, is training fasted and then also doing cardio fasted, you're just going to be wasting muscle away. Especially as you get more and more into a deficit, it just makes sense. You're not fueling your muscle prior to the training, and there's nothing for your, body to utilize, in terms of like glycogen stores. So you're just going to be eating through muscle at that point. Versus now when I have been training, fed, the way that my physique has grown in such small amounts of time without the use of substances in my off season has been an incredible change. So that's one big thing that I've heard, people with the debate of training fed versus fasted. Some people support training fasted, and it's like, That could be for like the regular person, but when you're a bodybuilder and you want to grow muscle or maintain the muscle tissue that you have on you, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least a couple of meals in your system in order to be able to put forth your best effort when you're training in the gym. So that's one common mistake that I'll see what happens in prep. And then another one that I'll see is, this is outside of the technicalities, but it's getting on social media and starting to double question or second guess what you're doing in prep and starting to implement what other people are doing. So I see this happen a lot, and I see, when I read comments on Reddit or, just on Instagram, you'll start to see some of your favorite pros training a specific way. Please do not forget that some of us have been doing this for 8 to 10 years. The way that we train right now is not the way that we trained at the beginning of our careers. So you might see some pros training a little less intense, and it's because we've already developed the amount of muscle that we need to be at the top. Don't go and see your favorite pros training a certain way, neglecting certain exercises, just because that's where they are in their journey. Look back at where they were in the beginning of their journey, and they were training hard, hitting all the different types of exercises that you see for compound movements. And that's what you need to be focusing on, is your own personal journey and what your body needs, not what your favorite pro is doing on social media. It's very, very deceiving, and that's something that I try to urge even just my own clients to just get out of their heads and get off social media, because that's going to have you second guessing a lot. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't know whether I should address to you or your sister. Sorry, I don't remember the name. Because actually she's also like the difference in age, and then she has maybe more experience than you have. Does your training in the lutein phase differs from, like, I don't know, like comparatively maybe young enough you don't feel that drop and the fatigue? Does it change a lot? And then what do you do about this? Like, and for example, I don't do any this, and actually I'm really down, it's really hard, but I cannot not train, because when I train I feel better. So what do you do about that?
Yeah, that's a great.
That's maybe for ladies or men.
No, that's a great question. I honor my body at the end of the day. I honor my body, and if I'm going through any phase, whether it's ovulation, luteal phases, follicular phase, or my actual menstruation is happening, I just honor my body. Especially if I'm in pain, I feel a dip in energy, I'm not gonna get a quality workout if I'm trying to force myself to do something. Not only am I physically feeling a certain way, mentally you're feeling a certain kind of way. So if I go into the gym and I'm already physically feeling a certain kind of way, I'm a little bit more repressed in how I feel just mentally, I'm only going to make myself feel worse if I try to hit maybe a certain load on a exercise, and if I can't get that, it's just going to make me feel bad. So what I do is I just know going into the session, let me start out with what maybe I start my first set typically and see how I feel there. If I feel like I'm not able to execute 100%, I know for the rest of my workout, maybe I need to dial it back just a little bit to start, so mentally I don't make myself feel bad because I can't hit what I usually do. But if I know maybe I do an exercise and I'm a little stronger, then I'll go ahead and push. But end of the day, it's just honor your body, because one, you don't want to have an injury happen because you are lower energy, not as strong during that time, or you're just in pain. What about you?
I feel pretty much the same, and especially like 3 days prior to the start of my menstruation and the first 2 or 3 days of the menstruation, I feel weaker and I feel more hungry and snackish. That's completely normal. And if we really try to push against it the whole time, it can lead to like a complete feeling of failure, because the training is not gonna be what it's supposed to be in our head. And we might actually snack something out of the plan, and we may feel really bad about that, and then just say, screw that, I'm gonna eat that all in. And that's where the trouble comes from. So if you really feel, because some women feel the same all the time, some women don't see the difference too much, but if you're the one who sees the real difference, work with that. Try to work with that. be gentle to yourself in the training. Maybe do a little bit more cardio in those days, but don't do like hardcore intervals. Just do steady state, go for one more walk in the afternoon, and with the food, you can schedule like more calories for these days to be sure you still stick to your program, but you have what your body is asking for. And then, for example, when my period is over, I feel super strong and I don't even need so much food. So that's where I can actually reduce the food and increase a little bit more of heat workouts, or maybe even like the weights in the gym. So work with it. Try different schemes every month and work with it. Just experiment and learn what suits your body the best. And again, everybody is individual.
Because for me, on my actual menstrual week, my first 2 days of my cycle, I don't train because I know it's going to be crap and I'm in so much pain.
Yes.
It's just not even worth it to me at that point. I just take those 2 days off and I'll just adjust my training schedule around that. And be flexible. You don't need to be super rigid. You know, time is, a concept that we made up to structure. Your body's not going to know the difference of missing Monday, Tuesday, and pushing it to Wednesday, Thursday. So just make sure you're giving yourself that flexibility in terms of honoring your body and going with that, because at the end of the day, again, if you go into the gym feeling like crap and you walked in, you're so much pain, you try to hit a workout, nothing feels more mentally defeating than being like, I shouldn't have even come today. I was only able to hit one workout. Now you're beating yourself up versus being like, you know what? It's the day that my cycle's starting. I'm just going to rest today. I might just take more walks, get some more steps around, just get some movement, maybe stretch a little bit
Mobility
more.
workout,
Mobility
yes.
work. You're doing now, you're giving yourself a couple days to actually focus maybe on mobility and stretching, which you won't probably typically do on a regular basis. So that's a big plus to give yourself so that you're not, feeling bad for maybe having to take a couple days off when you're having that happen.
Or if you don't want to have a couple of days off, you can train those body parts that don't need like extra work. For example, me and my back, I don't usually even train back properly, the whole prep. And when I have these days, but I really feel like I don't have much time, I cannot waste 2 or 3 days. So I just hit like super lightweight back workout, and I do some mobility, I do some stretching, and I just get some steps in, and that's fine for the day.
It looks like we have a topic to do the additional seminar just about that.
Like for real.
People don't like to be called bodybuilders, but I understand. People just think that they like bikini, IFBB Pro, the terms. For them, even wellness, it sounds horrible. But just what I want to say, because here it's still like more about the competition preparation, and there's most of the athletes are here. The importance of choosing the right category. We have a great example, like 10 years ago, now IFBB Pro, Olga, then was not so successful. She was crying backstage and she was unhappy by placing really, really down. And that's what she did back then, how she moved to another category, like when she changed her training, with support of her husband, coach. They succeed now. They're one of the best athletes and pro athletes of the future of the Baltic states and figure. So I'm really, really happy. And this is a great example how you need to do the right decisions, especially talking about competition. It was bikini wellness because it's the same bikini just with the bigger legs. So people just afraid of wellness because they want to write IFBB Pro bikini, on the social media. So so it's better to be not IFBB bikini, but IFBB Pro figure, which winning EM Pro overall, the same like as you, but big man, EM Pro. So it's like the same level competitions, which is we can actually have what to put on the bio. So thank you about that, and about nutrition, great topic. Most of people really interested in that. So you both, I want both to have your opinion and approach what you have on the last 4 to 6 weeks of the preparation for competitions, okay? So, Jess, if you can start.
So I track macros currently. I've done both approaches where I've had a strict meal plan, like in the earlier parts of my career, but then over time I've gotten, of course, with a coach that will assign macros. And though I do have macros, I stick to all whole foods while I'm in prep. In off season, of course, I'll like have some flexibility, but once I'm in prep, I want things to be very predictable, especially in the last like 4 to 6 weeks. I want to know exactly how my body is going to respond to every meal that I have come into my system. So I stick to maybe about like 4 or 5 like food items that I know that will work for me. You know, for right now, I do like chicken, rice cakes or rice, and then coconut oil and maybe berries. That's it. And then of course my salt. I track my sodium when I am 4 to 6 weeks out, just because again, I want to know exactly how my body's going to respond and look with the amount of food, the food items, and then also the amount of sodium that I'm getting in and water. I keep it that simple also because of my digestion. I want to again know that everything that I'm getting in me is going to go through me clean and I'm not going to have any digestive issues. But typically it's just keeping things very simple just because, one, I don't want to think about what I'm going to eat the next day or the next meal when I'm 4 to 6 weeks out, and I like to be able to make things that are really quick to grab and cook and go for the day, so I'm not making all these recipes, adding in all these extra seasonings and stuff. At that point, there's no time to be thinking, especially when you're that depleted at that point, so we just keep it very simple and predictable so that when we go into like peak week kind of thing, it's the same foods that we use. I don't go and get different foods. I don't do the crazy like cheat meal when I'm in a peak week because you never know what your body's going to do. I used to in the past have a cheat meal that I would have at home that I would make myself, but the difference between being at home versus a whole different state or a whole different area is if you go and get a burger out in town, it's different from what you made at home. You don't know what butters, oils, ingredients that's being used. So for you to be like, well, at home I had my cheat meals in my, preparation whenever we were able to implement it, but I made it at home. So it's fine to have a cheat meal at a show when I need to have a quick carb up before. Great, it may have worked at home because you used the ingredients and know the place that you're getting the food, but you can't predict what's gonna happen when you're in a whole different state or a whole different country eating something else and your body can respond completely different. So that's why I don't even implement that anymore. That was with an old coach that would, use that method of having like a cheat meal, something like crazy to like carb up. I don't do that no more because I want everything to be predictable on like what's gonna affect my digestion and just my body in general.
Do you do any big carb loading in bikini or?
Yeah. So I typically, like, just an example for personally, like what happened, like maybe going into Olympia and the last 2 shows that I had done, my baseline is anywhere between 100 to 150, depending on if it's like rest day or, upper body day or glute day. But then like the last couple days, like that Thursday and Friday before the show, we increase the carbs a pretty significant amount. It goes from like that high end of 150 to like 250, and then maybe the day before the show, like 300, 325. So we do carb up.
2 days.
2 days, yeah. Just depending on what the body needs. I've done like 1 day carb up or now 2 days just because my metabolism has just gone crazy that we need to like soften things up because I've been too shredded in the past. So yeah, we do 2 days now. But it varies, this is where trial and error comes in. This is where competing a little more often to really understand what your body's going to do comes in play. I know we're always looking to go win every show that we do, which is awesome, but you need to trial and error. And the only way that I got to understand what my body needs is by competing so much as a pro. I've done, in the last like 7 years as a pro, I've done about 40 shows. I had 1 year where I did 12 shows as a pro just to really understand like what my body needs in order to bring the physique that we want on stage.
How early are you ready for the show? How early are you already in the competition shape?
How early? I'll probably be in, like, I would say, because you don't want to shoot too early, with competition shape, because that's where you can have what I call runaway metabolism. If you come into condition too quick, you can start going into overdrive, and sometimes it's very hard to like dial it back. But my coach wants me ready about 2 weeks out, like ready already 2 weeks out, so that peak week or that week before peak week, we're not even worrying about condition. It's just a matter of holding the condition for that week and then going into peak week with that, reducing inflammation and then filling things out.
And training peak weeks, do you have ever practiced with them, like 1 month before, do the training?
No, I've never done a training peak week a month before, not for myself.
It's not gonna act the same way as another
exactly,
month.
because you have a whole other month that if you come in like already ready a month before, it's like, what do you do the rest of the month? You can go into a maintenance phase if you want to, but like it's a finicky thing unless like you maybe have a couple shows. I would only do maybe a mock peak week for like a show that's not the Olympia. So like this year I may be doing a show 4 weeks out from the Olympia. So I'll have a mock peak week into that show that's just going to give me time to get back on stage, to just get my feet back out there, get good feedback before the Olympics. So give me an idea, but I wouldn't do like a mock peak week unless like I'm actually competing into a show, because it just, for me, at least in bikini, it doesn't make too much sense as a pro.
Do you do this maintenance like a couple of weeks before the show, where you go in deficit and then peak?
So we'll go back to like that baseline, essentially. So it's like we won't go any deeper of a deficit than maybe we were doing before. But like, just like when I had done the Olympia and then had 2 shows later to do, I did a show like 2 weeks after that. What we did is we went to like a little bit of a maintenance. So say my calories got as low as like 1,400. We just increased the calories about like 100, 150 for that week or so before peak week, where we again dialed it back on the rest days and the low, upper body days, increased it on the glute days, and then carb up into the show. But whenever that happens, it's like I had 2 shows back-to-back weekends, is we did the carb up, obviously my body's full, of food, I'm like loaded. We drop it back down to baseline again, which is that like 1,300 calorie, to then be able to fill things out, because you don't want obviously a big amount of food in your system and it's not being utilized over that period of time.
Okay. Jana, because we have a lot to talk about because really find a way to manage the hunger and the pressure, and how we can handle that. So like, all this competition, preparation.
Well, just like very quick addition to what Jasmine was talking about, because I also get asked very often about, do you do carb ups? It really depends on the current shape, but despite I'm tall and my metabolism is fast, I'm not much of a carb person, and if I overload with carbs, I get spilled over and my belly gets bloated. So for me, for example, I found out that the fats play the key role in the way I will look. So don't ever neglect fats, and don't be afraid to raise fats as well. 2 reasons. First reason, the muscle cell has a storage of fat as well, so it can fill it up a little bit as well. And the second, it's very important, because if the fat is inside of the muscle cell, it increases the sensitivity for insulin, so it enables the carbs to come inside. Some of you, when you are low fat, you just not able to fill in if you are having like high carbs and you don't know why. This might be the reason. And also, don't go very low on sodium in the peak week. It's like you should be just ready, rest, get the water out because your stress hormones go low, and then don't really move to salt. I see many mistakes here. You can do very good shape, but most of the times it can actually do worse. We're not bodybuilders. We're not trying to get like rid of everything, and we don't have so hard muscles, and we're not on such hard substances. So don't really mess with the water, and be ready like 2-3 weeks before, and then relax, and that will actually help you get rid of the water way better than actually grinding and then taking diuretics with no salt in. This is like a no-no for me, okay? And now about this hunger question. Of course, when your prep is long enough, you should not be like really starving. And after a certain period of time, I learned the difference between, you know, snackish hunger and the real hunger where my body is telling me, hey, this is really too much. It's really hard to learn, but I would say if you're not like really super fat and you have between 15 to 20 weeks of prep, you don't need to go like below 1,400 kilocalories per day. And if you have like high protein diet, then it's gonna keep you keep your stomach full. Also, if you have enough fat in your diet, it's gonna keep your stomach full. And I think especially for women who don't take like a lot of fats, as like bodybuilders do, we need to schedule the carbs intake around the training. Because some girls, they have like, for example, I rarely go below 100 carbs per day. But that's quite a few for me as well. So when I have 100 for the whole day, and I have, for example, 4 meals and a protein shake, I don't divide the 100 carbs 25, 25, 25, 25. That makes no sense, because you just eat like 2 spoons of rice, you're still empty, and your insulin only goes up, and it makes you more hungry. So what I do is I take 2 portions of carbs. One is before workout, one is after workout. 50 carbs per portion is enough. I need before workout to have the power to actually do the workout. And then after workout to actually correct the glucose in my blood. That's it. I don't really need any carbs during the day. I have protein, a lot. I go over 200 proteins per day. And I have some fat, which keep me also quite full. And I especially like to keep most of my fat for the evening, because I'm the person who has anxiety in the evening. And when I have this, I can calm myself with like some of nuts or dark chocolate or avocado or something, and it keeps me like my stomach happy during the bedtime, and it makes you actually relax and fall asleep. If you just starve in the evening, which like many girls do, they don't eat after 6 p.m. You're losing muscle, you're not regenerating properly during the nighttime, and you don't fall asleep. So this is how I manage this. And the head, that's like the most important thing for me, and actually the hardest. First thing, communicate with your coach. If your coach doesn't give a damn about your feelings, change the coach, okay? Also I already talked about getting your blood work done. This is really important, because if your cortisol is high or your estrogen or something is happening, you're not gonna feel well. And when you don't feel well, you might also be burning muscles, retaining fat again. And also, if you have like very stressful job, you have like a very bad husband or a boyfriend, they don't treat you right, you feel like shit most of the time, you're not gonna be a successful bodybuilder. So this also comes to life choices. If you're really serious about bodybuilding, you really need to make yourself comfortable in prep. And you really need to choose. And you really need to choose, actually. It's up to you, and it can be really hard. And if you do like 5 years of prep, you invest money, time, energy, and you still keep that bad person in your life or a bad job or something, you're just wasting your time and money and everything. So you need to make the choice. I know it's hard. I've been there recently. And trust me, if you choose the right one, you're gonna be successful bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Just like this.
How low? Fats, how low was the lowest?
My lowest is 35.
Yeah, we live not more.
But not really
Not so, yeah.
too many days in a row.
We eat more.
Usually I don't go below 50.
And your stage goal?
My stage weight?
Yes.
The last time it was approximately 62 kilos.
Mhm.
And I have
I don't know
174 centimeters.
100 and... So my depleted weight, oh man, let me see real quick. All right, depleted 121 pounds to kilos. 54.8 kilos at depleted, and then at filled out 56.6. Yeah, kilos.
Glutes weight most, right?
What is that?
Glutes weight.
Oh yeah, it's all in the glutes, man. It's all in the glutes.
Me, shoulders.
Okay, just checking always the time to keep it right on track. We still have to talk about the supplementation, which is simple, but it's still necessary, just to hit that few questions. We still continue about preparation for competitions and the preparation and the last peak week. So what you use for preparation and how it changes for the peak week, what you stop, what you're still using, and you both, if you can, share your ideas and your thoughts, what you was doing and what you can, to suggest others to do or not.
So it all starts with getting blood work done first, making sure that you know what your baseline is, so you're not under supplementing or over supplementing, whether it's with, vitamins, minerals, and things like that, or with PEDs. So I'm going to more so speak on, this regular supplementation outside of PEDs. I keep things very simple because I don't want to overload my system with things that it doesn't need. So I just keep things in for, my hair, skin, and nails, and for my digestion, and just vitamin D essentially because I'm typically lower on that end, and that's going to also help with, natural testosterone production and just hormonal support. So I keep it very, very simple just because it's not necessary to throw things in that your body doesn't need at the end of the day, because I know a lot of people have like a whole cabinet full of things that they're going to be taking for their themselves, and I'm like, you're wasting money if you haven't checked your blood work to see if you even need all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, you can utilize things for support, especially if you are utilizing PEDs. So things for kidney and liver support are definitely necessary when you are taking PEDs. And if we're talking about PEDs, ladies, especially in the bikini division,
Just without it.
yes, you shouldn't be utilizing things to a high degree for a very long time. If your coach is telling you to utilize a certain amount of PEDs for 20 weeks or more, maybe question some things, because typically you shouldn't really need to utilize on a preparation. Say you're doing a 12-week prep, 8 to 10 weeks max at a time is something that you should look at. But if your coach is telling you at 20 weeks out to start utilizing a stack of things, question that, because it is egregious and unnecessary. And this has been throughout my entire career, that whenever I started using nothing more than 8 to 10 weeks out type of thing. So obviously we're not going to talk details of the different things, but I'm giving you ranges so you understand when you are getting into a situation with a coach and you're starting a prep and you're 16 to 20 weeks out, or even in your off season as a bikini athlete, if you're being thrown things your way, you might want to question some things and just be safe. But first and foremost, it's checking your blood work before and also through your prep, and then immediately after, or a little bit of time after, just to start recovering your body and its stores.
I think I would like to divide the supplementation into macronutrients and micronutrients. So the micronutrients, such as vitamins and minerals, really important, but you need to know which. So for example, all the vitamins that are water soluble, just take them because your nutrition is really basic and it might not contain all you need. And for example, the vitamin B, all of them are really crucial for maintaining the muscles. So you can take these in quite high doses, because if you overdose, it's not really possible, because you will just get them out with your urine. But there's different thing in vitamins soluble in fat. You really need to be careful with those. Vitamin A, D, E, and K. I don't supplement E and K. I supplement D when it's winter time, because when it's summertime and I get enough sunlight, I don't really need to, but you can get your blood test done and see easily if you need to supplement or not. And also vitamin A, I supplement because it has connection with your skin balance, but I don't do it all year long. And usually when I'm in the prep, I don't supplement vitamin A because I just feel like the body could get overloaded because I supplement many things. So I take vitamin A in the off season only. Then, what I'm really keen about is magnesium. I take many forms because I'm really prone to cramps, especially when I'm on like higher deficit. So for the morning, I take different form than for the evening. Evening bisglycinate is the best because it also calms your nervous system, helps you fall asleep. Morning, I usually take malate, which is nice. It can actually keep you up. And
So malate doesn't put you to sleep?
no, it's actually the opposite. And then zinc, also again because of the skin health, I take zinc every day, including the prep. It also supports your immune system. And I think that will be all. And from the macronutrients, well, big topic would be protein shakes. Even though I take more, usually when I'm on diet, 10 to 6 weeks out, we increase the protein intake up to 220 grams per day. And that means a lot of meat. And people might think, okay, so you need to increase the protein shakes as well. I prefer not to take more than 2 scoops a day and stick to the meat and eggs, because that just makes my muscle actually look hard. And if you don't digest this amount of meat, just lower the protein. Don't go for like more than 2 scoops of protein shakes per day. It doesn't make any sense. It's still a supplement. It's not supposed to be instead of the food. Then fats. Of course, I supplement omega, and the last 2 or 3 years, we only did omega-3 up to 10 grams per day, because it implements nicely with your cholesterol. And if you take these supplements that has 3, 6, and 9, omega-3, 6, and 9, I see studies that show that you actually have enough omega-6 from the meals, but you lack omega-3. And there's this disbalance that you lack in omega-3 that's making your cholesterol go completely wrong. So I found out that when I only supplement omega-3, the cholesterol stays nice, the whole spectrum. That's my experience, my opinion. Maybe somebody else has a different. And the more severe the caloric deficit is, the more times in a day we supplement amino acids. That means glutamine, essential amino acids. You don't need the whole spectrum. If you can take it, good for you, but I think for me it's enough to actually 3 times, 4 times a day. 1 scoop of glutamine, you can never overdose with glutamine. It's good for regeneration, and it's good for your microbiome. And the EEA is also perfect any time of the day. Just drink it all the time. That's all I take, pretty much.
What is your opinion about creatine?
Oh, I forgot about creatine. Sorry. Yes, we take a lot of creatine.
And how many grams per day would you recommend to take?
I take every evening 5 grams of creatine trimalate.
And what do you think it's 5 grams enough? Because recent studies shows like 10-20 grams per day would be taken. And
it depends on your body weight as well, and it also depends on your experience, because some people are naturally rich in creatine, and these people wouldn't really notice a big difference in increased doses. But some people have really low creatine naturally in their body, and those people would actually really benefit from even up to 20 grams per day in like big man.
And is it true that the best way to take creatine is with honey or something sweet and after the training?
Straight away after training. I actually do for the nighttime, because how it works when you ingest creatine, I haven't heard a combination with honey or carbs, but when you ingest creatine, it takes some time to actually get in your bloodstream, and from your bloodstream to your muscle cells, and then in the muscle cells, it needs to absorb phosphor on the creatine. And then this creatine with the phosphor, it waits for it to be utilized. When you work out, it's a donor of a phosphor. So this usually takes 2 hours to happen, to get phosphorylized in the muscle. So if you take the creatine before workout, you usually don't have enough time for it to start being ready for the workout.
Take after.
And after, it depends, because the phosphorylation of the creatine only happens when the muscles are not moving. That's why I go for the night time. And it depends what do you do after the workout. If after workout you go to an office and you just sit in a computer, it's totally fine. If you are a bartender or you work in a restaurant and you just walk around the whole day, I don't think it would work properly.
So if taking it before, like for me when I started using creatine, I really feel like I have power to it. Like I started eating eggs, but I don't eat meat. So for me when I started using creatine before, like I feel strength. Finally I have strength. But do you say like it means then like 2 hours and like
it's optimal.
office job?
It's optimal. Some people
2
take.
hours, or can it be less? Or it
Well, it's again individual. Some people can do it in 90 minutes. Some people need more. You can try, but I think the very important thing is to actually be not in the movement after you ingest the creatine. So some people take it in the morning with the breakfast, then they lay down for an hour, work on the phone, on the computer, then they go to the gym. That's okay. But some people just drink the creatine in the gym. They start doing warm-up, they start doing like cardio, and I don't think that's any effective. And if you feel like you have the power after 1 hour, then it's completely fine. But again, you can play with that and choose what's optimal for you. There is also in bodybuilding in general, some people try one way and they feel it's good, so they say, this is the best for me. But they never try anything else. So they don't know if it's the best. It's just slightly better than not using it, but try many options and choose what's really best for you. Don't stick to one solution with anything. Try.
It's about sweeteners. Do you cut off it, for example, on AA, etc. Do you take it normal, or you can use some sweeteners?
It depends. We usually try to switch off the sweeteners like 5 days before the show. But honestly, I usually get very irritated in my stomach when I take too many sweeteners and stuff like this in the prep in general. So I usually choose unflavored supplements. Yeah. And when I want some flavor in my life, I take berries or a piece of fruit or half an apple or something that also has some benefits like natural vitamins and stuff. And these artificial stuff, they can also mess with your microbiome. Especially in prep, we don't want that. So I really don't choose flavored supplements. And I also have protein with no flavor, which is disgusting for most people, but I somehow got used to it. Yeah.
Just to one more time touch the topic about the scientific researches.
I have another question.
There is so many science, and they have to do something, in life. They have to make some researches, become somehow popular, make now the instrument will spy from that, maybe won't spy from that, so they make like totally different in some specific terms, specific age, this like so it's not really always the true what comes on even the publicated researches and even scientific I'm talking. So it's always really consideration what you feel, and even the sweeteners, like I'm doing the blood test 6 times a day in preparation, so the sweeteners for me increasing the sugar, glucose, so like I don't know. So like they work somehow like increasing or whatever your body like producing itself, the glucose. So it's just like how you feel and how you can really take all that knowledge, all your experience and just put in practice.
About the sweeteners, a lot of people don't take them like 3 weeks prior to the show because of the water retention. Well, of course, if you drink 4 liters of Cola Zero, you can have some water retention. But if you like normal, if you take 1 can of Coca Zero because you just can't anymore and you need to have some flavor in your mouth, I I honestly don't retain any. And even one night before the show, when I earned the pro card in Pro, because I was empty and for my height, I just really needed to fill up. So we did this cheat meal the night before with a lot of fat, with a lot of salt, and just with 1 Coca Zero. Because it also, this Coca Zero, it's also diuretic.
Yeah.
So there's not only that it's sweeteners and it's gonna hold the water. It's like 3 deciliters of Coca Zero doesn't have enough sweeteners to actually retain water, but it can have other benefits. But you always need to consider all the aspects, like what it's gonna do. Is it big amount, small amount? Is it regular or is it just like one time?
You speak like a professional, but if you prepare new guys, new girls, say, hey, it's possible to use a it's not, hey, it's possible.
And again, it's gonna be individual. It's gonna be very individual.
And something to remember too, even though it's individual to you, one prep is not ever going to be the same as another prep.
Yep.
So what you do now may not work the next time. So you have to be open to trial and erroring things, and also just being aware of just what your body responses are to things throughout your prep, and never assuming that just because you were able to do something this way, it's not going to happen again. I can't expect that my next prep I do, I'm going to be able to do 2 high carb days in a row again. It's never going to be the same, so always be open to just being flexible and understanding that things can change too.
No, erythritol as a sweetener. What do you think about this one? Erythritol.
Erythritol?
Erythritol.
For me personally,
No, just generally eating it during life.
well, it's not artificial, it's natural, so it's not such a problem. This is a big topic I have discussed with previous coach, and I got bad fights with him, and it was actually the main reason I switched to Deividas. And when I was at the university studying medicine, I did quite a big research on these, and some of them are natural, and so we may consider them better than the artificial ones. But for example, some of them have the ability to really mess with your microbiome.
So this one.
And for example, maltitol is the one that messes with your microbiome a lot. But erythritol for me is like my favorite one. I got used to the taste. It doesn't hustle my microbiome. It doesn't retain water. So if I want to have some nice pancakes or oatmeal cake or something, I use this one even in prep, and it's fine for me. It's like this one and stevia is like the best options for me, but stevia has like this aftertaste. So erythritol is my favorite one. Personally for me, it can be different to anyone of you.
Okay, girls. Your biggest mistakes, what you want to avoid, or the best wish, to everyone, what they can do to, to make, to succeed in whatever bikini or in this sport. So like what to do, what not to do. The last word on this.
Yeah. Focus on you and your journey. Just block out the outside noise. It's very easy to get caught up with what everyone else is doing, and listen to your coach. Even if you are questioning like things that are happening in your prep, listen to your coach, because nothing is worse than having many cooks in the kitchen. All right, we want to listen to one person, and even if, like I said, you are questioning them, question them to themselves. Don't question them to another coach or just a random friend or another pro, because that's just only going to cause confusion, especially when you're in a prep, and that's the last thing that you need to do. So focus on yourself and keep your business with you and your coach, and if you really feel compelled to like jump ship, do that full-heartedly, but don't be having 5 different opinions telling you what to do, because you're just going to be confused and thrown off, and you're never going to know what works and what doesn't when you're trying out and hearing other opinions other than one person's.
From me, probably don't ever go too low on calories for a long period of time. Usually I see this when a man bodybuilder coaches girls, and they don't really give a damn about losing period, hair falling and stuff like this. So if you feel like you're super tired, you're depressed, your hair is falling, you lost period, you're losing muscles, you're retaining water, and your calories are super low, and the coach is even pushing you for lower, this is a warning sign to actually change the coach. And I see this very, very often, and it can affect your health long term. And even if you stick to the regime, your physique is not gonna look good on stage. That's not the good way. We are not models, we are bodybuilders, we need the muscles to look good, and if the body is not healthy, it's not looking good. So prioritize your health and also your mental health. Never neglect your mental health.
But okay, then how to find the right coach? Because
That's
some people
difficult.
know the right coach is the coach who is very good with the judges, and he's very good with the president of federation, and something like that, and that they want to be a good placing because of this. Or you have a good specialist, but nobody likes him. So who to trust, with who to be?
It's very difficult in this industry, especially I would say at the top level, because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I would really look deep and maybe ask athletes that have either started at the ground, like for example, me with my coach. My coach got me when I was in a position where I had done really well at my first Olympia, and then I went straight to the bottom. He took me from the bottom to the top. But you're gonna see a lot of people who get with certain coaches and they're already made. They're already like either self-made or they've already been at the top, and you're like, wow, this person is with this coach and that coach has this person too. But really dig deep and be like, stop making your decisions based off of just pros or top pros. Look at pros that maybe weren't really anything and then they became something. They look healthy, they talk about their health in a positive way. That'll give you a little bit more of like the positives that that person can provide and that they know what they're doing. But red flags to me are somebody who's already, you know, a top Olympian and they get with a coach or they're with a certain coach and they've already been that themselves. So that's something to really look past, because it's very easy to be like, oh my gosh, such and such is being coached by this person. But like, did that person coach them from the beginning of their career or at a point of their career where they were struggling as an athlete and then they rose up to the top in a healthy way? So.
And also another red flag, if you see or hear from some athletes or you experience yourself that you get a coach, even when he's got like good looking athletes and he has good connection to the judges, and the first thing he does is stacks you with PEDs and go low on calories, it's not worth it. Even if he's connected to the top judges, this is not worth it. This is a long-term run, it's a marathon, so just don't be afraid to switch the coaches and choose what's good for you, where you feel good, when you feel understood, and so on.
And one other thing that you can easily like weed out, you know, a bad coach is if you get with the coach and they want you to start PEDs and they don't ask you for blood work. That one there is the first thing to make you run. You should never do anything without having had blood work first, or even a prep, especially if you've been an athlete already for a while. If you get with the coach and they don't ask, hey, let me see if your blood work before we even consider a prep, that should be a red flag in your mind, especially nowadays when that's something big that you should be doing.
So now is the question time. If somebody has any questions, like specifically about yourself or just about the industry, about Olympia, about anything you want to hear, you can ask here now or to do that after in private if you have time.
I want to ask how you deal with adrenaline on backstage. Because
me, I just put my headphones on and I just start dancing. I'll also just have my music in and I'll practice my routine by the stage just to feel the energy, to hear the MC, to hear the judges calling to like other classes or divisions, just to feel that energy and have myself just in my routine, in my rhythm. And that's really how I deal with the adrenaline or any type of nerves that I may have. Yeah, you know, I don't want to be just sitting down like just like nervous energy or just all this energy in me. I need to kind of like release it with a little bit of movement. So I just prefer to move through my routine and feel the flow close to the stage in that area with some good music that makes me feel good.
Music is good, and also the person you have in backstage with you. My ex, he was just making me even more nervous. This guy, he just knows how to deal with me to actually deal with me. So it's really important. And also, practice posing a lot. If you know what you're doing, you're not gonna be that nervous. If they wake you up at 3 a.m., and you're supposed to do your routine just perfect. You are super, super confident. Of course, it's different in front of the people, but if you know what you're doing, it's different. Then you try like maybe 2 or 3 times an hour, which movement goes next? Oh, maybe I messed up now. Okay, practice.
Vienas klausimas, kadangi nieks tavęs nieko neklausė. Manau, kad daug iš čia esančių ir tie, kurie klausys ir žiūrės, šiek tiek tau pavydi, nes, žinai, tu visada kažkur keliauji, su visais susitinki. Kokia tavo sėkmės formulė?
Aš nevadinčiau, kad kelionės yra sėkmė. Aš nevadinčiau, kad laimėti Švarcnegerio turnyrą yra sėkmė. Tai yra darbas, tai yra rezultatas to, ką tu turi, kokį charakterį turi, kokį charizmą tu neši, ką tu išmokai per gyvenimą, gal galėjo tas stiprybės save. Bet svarbiausia būti žmogumi ir svarbiausia mėgautis viskuom ir šiuo momentu. Nuleisti ego žemai ir tikrai gyventi čia ir dabar. Būti geriausia savo versija, tikrai realizuoti save ten, kur tu gali. Kada tu tai gali padaryti? Kada yra žinios, kada yra kažkoks bagažas, kada yra svoris žodyje, visame kame, ką tu darai. Kada iš tikrųjų yra tai, ką tu darai, galbūt yra geriausia, galbūt yra tikrai verta klausyti, girdėti ir žmonės dėl to ir renkasi tave. Ačiū labai.